Another podcast. Here
Indeed.
we go.
Rob, should we do the honours?
I'd love to. So, tell me about the drink you've gone for.
I've gone for a lovely Tipple, a session IPA from Hobgoblin. Little unknown brand.
Hobgoblin.
Yes.
And I've gone for a Peroni, which is a wonderfully average beer. We're going to talk about branding.
We're going to start off from a specific point of discussion, which is distinctiveness versus differentiation.
Right.
And you'll notice all the way through this conversation, I can't say differentiation. It's like I've got a mouthful of teeth in it.
I did wonder why you chose a tongue twister to talk about for our first podcast.
So we might go distinctiveness and being different, or positioning, because I think they're fairly interchangeable.
Absolutely.
So if we rewind, we're going to have to rewind about 15 years
So we
to the start of marketing, where the wisdom at the time was differentiate or die.
Right.
And that was like a trottism. Like, he wrote a book called Differentiate or Die, and it was all about how you had to find that point of difference, which was absolutely unique.
Right.
And then a few years later, people were starting to question whether, how easy it is, because it's one of these things. It's like people talked about it on LinkedIn, people talked about it in books, but then on the ground, the actual marketers are like, well, really, it's impossible for most companies to find something that's absolutely unique in the marketplace. So about 13 years ago, a man called Byron Sharp from the Ehrenberg Bass Institute published a book called How Brands Grow. So we're 13 years late to the conversation, which is good because we're right onto current affairs. And this book absolutely changed marketing, and it changed branding because it kind of split people into two camps, and it all became differentiation versus distinctiveness. His whole thing is that there's no such thing as differentiation. That you can't be unique in a category, and even if you can, that's not what drives brand growth. It's all about salience in his book. So share of mind, how much share of mind you have over other competitors in the public's heads.
Right.
And his whole thing is mental availability.
Right.
So it's all about getting a share of mind of the customer over and above competitors, and also physical availability, so being everywhere you can be, online, in every shop, so people think of you, and when they think of you, you're not that far away.
Yeah, so it's easy. As soon as you're in their heads, there's no barriers to actually get to you, to purchase, to sort of take part in that brand.
Yeah. And it's all supported by distinctive brand assets and owning occasions or category entry points. So, for example, there's a beer in Australia who have owned the category entry point of having a beer after work, and they've advertised this in the same way that we've got Kit Kat Take a Break has been going on for like 50 years. It's the same thing. They've just banged this drum for like 10, 15 years about this beer. Is like all their marketing's around, if you had a hard day, this is what you have. And so the idea is that you, after a hard day's work, you think, I want a beer. So that's how they drive sales, is through this owning a certain occasion in people's minds. In the same way that Kit Kat is, whenever someone wants a snack, when they want to take a break, you think, I'm going to have a Kit Kat.
And one kind of common factor between those two is they're very specific. It's a very specific time and place.
Yes.
For both of those, especially, a beer after work. That is a very specific thing. And I think that's important in being distinctive, is being quite direct and quite specific.
Yeah, exactly that. So, SEPs or category entry points is one thing. The other thing is distinctive brand assets. So having a set of logos, colours, fonts, can be jingles, mascots, anything that you can have repeated throughout all of your marketing experiences that people can use to identify you.
Yeah.
And that's really the crux of the book, is mental availability, being easily identifiable in the marketplace, and sophisticated mass marketing. So that's one side of it. And when he wrote that book, Byron Sharp, he literally has a table where he's like, Differentiation is like, that's the old marketing. Distinctiveness, this is the new marketing.
Yeah.
So positioning is out, salience is in.
He's quite militant with that view, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it's distinctiveness, nothing like, it's not differentiation, it's distinctiveness. There's no mix of it really, differentiation. That's my understanding of his kind of philosophy.
Yeah. It's a bit of a dogma. It's like, that's dead. Differentiation is dead. It's all about distinctiveness. And if you kind of listen to him, the way he talks about it now is that it's not that differentiation is completely pointless. He just, his position is you can't really protect it. Because if you say, I've got this new feature, my car's faster, and that's what differentiates it, well, the competition could just make faster cars, and you can't protect that. Yeah. That's just competition. But if you've got a brand, colour, you can protect that. If you've got a logo, you can protect that. So distinctive brand assets are legally protectable and differentiation isn't. You can maybe have it for a while, and maybe you can protect it for a while, but you can't do it forever.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that it's, while he's saying it's not completely useless, it has an effect on sales and it has a use in marketing.
Yeah.
His point is, if you've got a finite resource of spend, put it towards being distinctive in the marketplace and having that mental availability, rather than trying to position your company in one way or the other.
Right. So in the point of differentiation, it can be mimicked. Not only can it be mimicked, it almost invites itself to be mimicked. There's almost challengers who will come out and try and do it better, because like you said, it's not protectable. It almost invites that competition, like, we're the fastest. Someone else will come along, we're the fastest, can't protect it.
Yeah.
More open to competition potentially with that kind of mindset.
I was thinking the other day about First Direct. If you remember First Direct, it's an old campaign now, but they had the platypus that was walking through the city, and
black and white.
It was all black and white. Yeah. At the time, it was a little bit shocking because banks were very friendly and touchy-feely, were all about family, and they came out with this quite gritty advertising. I think it was a bit of a 90s style advert as well. Yeah. A bit of reverence, and it made you double take, and it didn't feel like a bank advert. But the whole thing at the time was, we're the world's first online bank, or we're the first UK's online bank. Yeah. So online banking was the thing, and obviously now it's fairly common to have online banking, and everyone's closing their stores because everything's just going online now and going into apps. But it's, if you chose that as a way of being differentiated, and it's like, that's how we're going to win the market, it's like, well,
we're an online bank.
Yeah, it's like everyone else can just open an online bank.
Which is what happened soon after, I imagine.
They probably did much better with their distinctive assets, which was their black and white kind of brand identity and their advertising. But even then, you would say, like, apart from the logo, how protectable is having a black and white brand? Yeah.
Platypus may be protectable.
The platypus, if they made something more of that.
Yeah, as a mascot. But it's not protectable. And I mean, it just goes to show that they were the first one there doing online banking. Are they the biggest online bank now? No.
I don't even know if they're still in business. We should have done some research before we started this. But
I'll Google it after and overlay on the screen the real fact.
My man will be talking like this, and I'm like, still going.
I'll just redub us.
Yeah.
So our mouths might not match up.
In a completely different accent.
Yeah.
On one side of the debate, you've got Byron Sharp with his mental availability and category entry points, and it's all about distinctiveness. Yeah. On the other side, you have Mark Ritson. And his argument isn't polar opposite. It's not like he's arguing for positioning and differentiation and meaningful and brand stories or anything like that. It's just he believes in something called Bothism, right? Yeah. So it's something he's talking about at the moment. I think a couple of years ago, I saw him on a Kantar talk, and it was the kind of all about how we should be practicing Bothism in marketing and understanding that distinctiveness is really important, but you can't ignore differentiation. Right. And he does go into some, the book has been critiqued over, the last 10 plus years. And a lot of the critique is there's kind of missing data. There's data that's presented as proving one thing, but actually it sort of disproves his own argument. And Mark has gone over that tons and tons of times on different platforms. But essentially, this idea that you go out and you just choose the first thing that comes into your head is intuitively wrong, but it's also proven wrong by data as well. Yeah. If what's that laptop company? Levino, HP. Let's go with HP. If HP had 100% mental availability in my head, I'd still buy Apple, because you'd still go to the store and so I think there are cases. For me, it always comes down to the supermarket experience. If someone has been flooding my feed with crisps, a certain brand of crisp, try this new crisp or try this new flavour. And they've got an end stand at the supermarket and it's being promoted. So there's mental availability, there's the physical availability. Yeah. I'd probably go, I'll try those. I think it works beautifully in those situations.
Absolutely.
But for a lot of brands, you're going to go with what you kind of like and what speaks to you. If it doesn't matter, my example of this actually is Go Compare.
Right.
And we'll get onto the Meerkat in a minute. But Go Compare, it's like they spent so much money with this opera character, and it just annoyed the hell out of me every time, and it just made me want to not go with them more and more. It can't just be about getting in someone's head and being mentally available.
So that lacked substance for you, that campaign? It just
didn't speak to me.
Right.
And I think that a comparison site is hard to brand anyway, because one, they do very, very similar things, and I think there's an obviousness about that. Yeah. Like, they can't really differentiate from each other.
Yeah.
But what they can do is have really good distinctive marketing. And I think they were both really distinctive.
Yeah.
I remember the Go Compare jingle.
Yeah.
I remember his little face. But it did, I needed a differentiation.
Yeah. So it ticks the distinctive box, but it didn't tick the differentiation box against competitors.
Sort of. I mean, it might not even be a question of differentiation in those cases, because they are so similar in what they offer. It might just be a case of one of the creatives wasn't as good as the other.
Yeah.
And I think that's where in my head, the waters get a bit muddy, because it's like, well, is it differentiation in what they're offering, or are we just talking about the creative? And I guess in that case we are. It's more like, I liked one creative over the other and one won out.
Yeah. If you were speaking specifically about creative, I think the distinctiveness and difference probably happen organically together, because I think if a brand is truly unapologetically their self, and they are like, this is us, this is exactly who we are as a brand, with their assets, with their tone of voice, every single touch point. Like with people, there's that phrase, be yourself because no one else can do it better than you, something along those lines. I think brands work in a similar way, whereas if you're truly yourself, there's no one else doing it the same as you. So if you're looking in a creative sense or a brand sense, I think that distinctiveness comes with an element of difference, but obviously when it comes to offering, that's a different story.
No, I think that's a good point. When you can stand out and you can be different in how distinctive you are. And I do think those things go hand in hand. And that's maybe where the conversation does get confused, because when we're talking about differentiation, we're talking about the literal positioning, like this company offers something different to the marketplace over and above competitors. But the distinctiveness element is more about, it has to be different to be distinctive, first of all. But the way it's described is always about looking like yourself rather than being different, if that makes any sense at
absolutely. all. I saw a really good example. It might have even been Byron Sharp, but I saw a really good example of a distinctive brand, which was Subway. So this is where a brand is distinctive, but they're not different. So before Subway, specifically in the UK, before Subway, sandwiches weren't branded. They were an offering from, you go to Marks and Spencer's, they got sandwiches. You go to your local cafe, they've got all the ingredients out. You can say, I want lettuce, cucumber, chicken, whatever. They have that existed. Subway simply came in, and on the subject of mental availability, they made it distinctive. They branded it. This is what we do. Just this. It's, you know, have it your way, I think was their, I don't know if it's still their slogan, but that was their tagline to begin with. Have it your way. So they took something which no one was doing in a distinctive way. You know, if I was to say name another sandwich brand, it's tough, isn't it?
I reckon I could try.
Go on then.
McDonald's
sandwiches.
They technically call their burgers sandwiches.
Are we about to get into what makes a sandwich? Have you seen what happened with Marks and Spencer's strawberry sandwich?
Strawberry, yeah. They were trying to get around the tax, weren't they? Because they were like, it's a cake. The tax man was saying it's a cake because it's a sweet treat.
The tax man wanted it to be a cake because he makes more money, whereas M&S wanted it to be a sandwich because they make more money or save money.
Is it the Inland Revenue in Britain? Or HMRC? HMRC have spent the last 10 years talking to Jaffa. and now they're like, they've finished that case, now they can move on.
Yeah.
So they're now attacking M&S.
Who won that?
I still don't know. I mean,
it's still a Jaffa cake, right?
I feel like they just gave up.
They should have played on that and said, like, we're rebranding to Jaffa biscuits.
Yeah.
The country would have been up in arms. It would have fallen apart.
What was the thing? If you leave it out for long enough, it goes hard. Therefore,
it's a biscuit. It's a cake.
No, biscuits go
a
softer. Biscuits go softer. Cakes go harder.
Wow.
You imagine having this argument in court, and you just like you've got examples on the table. Like,
it's mad, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm still really angry about because I'm a diehard Tesco fan, and Lidl came after Tesco. Because Tesco have got the club card and they had club card stickers which were little yellow graphics with the offer in, and they were saying you're using our yellow and blue distinctive identifiers to subconsciously sort of under the carpet make people think of cheapness and affordability, or maybe value for money is what they're arguing.
Yeah.
So you're using our value for money code and using it to promote club card.
I don't know the outcome of that case, but
They had to change it.
Colour is very difficult to copyright.
Yeah.
I think it has to be argued like in a court to truly decide. Like you've got the obvious ones like Cadbury's purple. Like if you're thinking digitally, how many colour values away from it can you go and it's not an infringement? Like where's the line? I don't know the answer, but it's a difficult area.
Yeah, it's an interesting one as well, because I think there's been some arguments in court where it's like, look, we've had this colour for so long. Everyone basically thinks of us anyway, and that's why it's predictable, is because it has now gained such meaning in the culture that it means it's protected. Whereas someone comes out and says, I've got an orange and I want to protect it, I think most courts will go, well, you can't.
Yeah, it's
how do you...
Once it's become distinctive.
Yeah.
That's when it can be copyrighted, and that's where that protection comes in that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Boom.
So I want to go back to the meerkats, because I think that was a really good moment in time for distinctive brand assets.
It was brave. It was a brave campaign, I wish brands were more fearless more frequently.
Yeah, but to lean into it that hard, it wasn't just like, oh, we'll have a mascot and he'll be, it was the whole backstory. They had full, films about it, and I think once they had the toys, they'd basically sealed the deal for most people. And I think, in a funny kind of way, that it's not a differentiator, and it's not going to make you choose them over someone else. But I do think it helps you go, do you know what, if they're both exactly the same, but this one's going to give me a fluffy meerkat, I'm just going to go with them.
And I think the great thing about that distinctive campaign is tied in with it is the name of the brand. It's not just an object. It's not just a meerkat. It's compare the meerkat. So you'll never forget their website ever when you're going to a comparison website for insurance. They do everything now, but you'll always know straight away. And that mental availability. I mean, what are there's U-Switch, there's other ones, but for me personally, compare the market is always number one.
It's where you go.
Yeah,
it's where you go, and it's thinking about how you get mental availability And going back to that Go Compare campaign, you can just be really, really annoying. And I don't know if that's what they were going for, because that's the legitimate strategy. It's just like, we're going to do something really that we know is annoying, and it's going to annoy people. And so going back to that Meerkat campaign, when it first came out, and the reason why it was such a good time for distinctive brand assets and proving how they work is the impact on culture was huge, because people were talking about it. It was, sort of in the news. People were showing off their Meerkat toys, and there was a whole the black market of Meerkat toys on eBay, and it was like people were selling them for thousands of pounds. Yeah, I remember going to Cannon Hill Park in Birmingham, and they've got a Meerkat enclosure there. And I remember going in, and the place felt completely deserted, and I realised there was about 1,000 people around the Meerkat enclosure because it was just like all these kids were now obsessed with meerkats. So it definitely got into the culture in that way, and it got into the conversation, and everyone wanted the toys. People were swapping toys on eBay and swapping toys with each other, and it was always the kind of like, oh, I've managed to get because they started the whole family. But that even expanded the story even further, because at the start it was just forget their names, the rich meerkat and his butler meerkat, and then suddenly it was the whole family.
And I can't remember the other one.
They had the baby, didn't they?
There's a whole it kept this is the thing, they didn't change the whole thing, they just adapted it slightly, added characters if it was getting old. They didn't go, guys, we need to do something else now. And I suppose their higher purpose is meerkat conservation. They could start donating to charity. Missing out on a trick there.
I think the benefit of that, having such a strong mascot and such a strong campaign, is a distinctive campaign, is keeping that going. And you can do it for 10, 15, 20 years. We talked about Kit Kat earlier, that's 50 years, and Coca-Cola has sort of been doing the same thing as well.
Well, I think one of the main ingredients of becoming distinctive is time. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens through a very deliberate, consistent execution of your brand, which happens to be distinctive, and that's when the mental availability really takes place, is through time, doing it consistently.
And being sort of having the confidence and being brave and sticking to it, and knowing that even though you see it 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, every year for maybe even 10 years, if you work for a company for that long, it might be getting tired to you, but for most people, they're seeing it a few times, possibly a year. I
think that's probably a bit of advice for businesses, is that you have to always center yourself back to your audience, because when you're in the business's headquarters, you see it every day, probably on your internal branding. You're looking at every single marketing communication that's going out. You see everything. So I call it brand fatigue or brand complacency. But you start to get itchy feet because you see it so much, like people must be getting bored of this. But I think the thing to do in that situation is center yourself back towards your customer. In a year, how many times have they seen it? Because there's no way they've seen it anywhere near as much as you. And then I'd reiterate that the consistency and the fact that they are seeing the same color, the same font, the same sort of the same design assets, the same touch points over and over again, or the brand codes will say, that's important and that's good. That's not bad. They're not going to get bored. All that's going to happen,
the fatigue doesn't exist.
Their mental availability to that brand is just going to get higher and higher and higher. Yes, there comes a stage where people need to rebrand, but that's not because people have seen their brand too much. It's because their market's changed or their audience has changed.
It's definitely. We've done rebrands where, the company's not coming to us saying, I don't really like my logo anymore. And there's been times when people have come to us and said, can we change our logo? And we're like, no. We can update it, we can clean it up, but we're not changing it because you've had it for years and people recognise it.
The first question we ask in the most humble way is why?
Why do you want to change it? If it's just because you're bored of it, we're not doing it. But generally people are repositioning, and their company is it's not what it was 5 years ago. They've changed their service. They've kind of got into a new market, and their identity doesn't reflect that anymore.
Yeah.
Now, this is the one thing that I completely disagree with Mark Ritson on.
Right.
Because he said in the past that you should never rebrand. You should never change your logo. The only thing that can happen is negative. There's so many downsides. So the cost of doing it, the having to rebuild brand assets again, and the benefits is there's zero benefit to it, which I disagree with, because I think if you have gone into a new market and you might have been rocking a logo which is just a bad logo, it's not fit for purpose, and
which happens a lot because companies they don't always know their trajectory, and they suddenly find themselves in a really good position, but their brand is still what they started with.
I think you can reference like huge brands. There's one going on with HBO at the moment, HBO Max. Have you seen this? There's a run of logos. They've had like a new logo almost every year, and it was HBO.
I haven't seen it, no.
Yeah, they merged. There was basically a merger, and they said you should just be HBO, then HBO Max, and then I think they're back to HBO.
Right.
And it's like, how many times can you rebrand this company, and like, is the customer even benefiting from all of this changing? And
so Mark Ritson is always against a rebrand.
Apparently
always.
So. Apparently so. And I might have misunderstood that. Maybe he's just talking about big global brands. Once you're on a global stage, then it may
like
be a bit different.
Coca-Cola wouldn't suddenly go, we've got a lovely sans serif typeface now. It's minimal. Like everyone would be like, that's not what we know and love.
I still don't like the Google logo. Even now, I can't get on with it. I don't know why
they're not doing too badly.
I think it's very bitterness.
When Google eventually goes bankrupt and people say like, Jeff, what went wrong? And it's like, I think it was the terminal on the G was slightly at the wrong angle.
It was too simplified. It's too geometric. It's taken 300 years for it to happen, but I knew it would.
I think so. My perspective is with rebranding, because it's different to branding. Rebranding, there's a lot more riding on it. You already have your audience. You already have they've already got an impression of you. So it's a much more sensitive challenge. Whereas when you're branding, you're starting from scratch. So still very important, but people don't have an existing perception of your brand. So that's why I think when we do it, it's about going into granular detail and making sure, doing the research, doing the groundwork, being like, why are you rebranding? What do people really think? Not what does the C-suite think, the marketing department. What do your audience really think? Whether it's an old audience, new audience, whether it's changing. And then going into granular detail from inside out of everything about the company, like why are you rebranding? What are you doing? And then that informs the result so that you're in the best position to be in with your new brand. It's not just on a whim, like we need to change this, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Which is what sometimes businesses think it is. It's like, we need a new logo. And it's like, well, you change your logo, your audience isn't going to see anything different. They changed it. If you change your brand, it will change their perception. It'll be different.
I knew there was going to be a way I could get Jurassic Park into this conversation. Because we're talking about branding. I thought it would be fun to touch on fictional brands.
Okay. Yeah.
So whenever I'm watching films, the branding and for the right reasons, I think the branding is always disappears into the background because that's not what the film's about. But Jurassic Park's one of the first films that was, to me, the branding was really part of the story, and it was certainly part of the world building. You had to believe that someone was literally building a park, and I just thought the logo, which was brought to life. The book cover on Michael Crichton's book, I think it is, which is the skeleton, that was then taken to create the logo for the the film franchise. But then the way it was applied to everything on set, I just thought was brilliant, because the first thing I think you think of is the trucks,
the Jeep things.
The Jeeps, yeah.
And they're not even, because the main logos, is it red? when you think of the main movie cover,
it's like red and yellow.
Red and yellow.
Yeah.
The Jeeps are green and yellow, but it just fits in perfectly to the brand. Like,
and I think what they could have done is got a Jeep and whacked it on the side, but they skinned the whole Jeep in this kind of, it's kind of camo, but it's colourful camo.
Yeah.
Type thing. It just looks like a branded, like you would brand a vehicle. I know it sounds silly.
No, I think I totally take your point. And if you were to not think about it, you would get a black Jeep and you'd put a red logo on the side. That's the obvious thing to do. But instead, you're thinking, imagine this is a real theme park. You wouldn't have black Jeeps, would you? It'd be more friendly. It's a family. It's going to be a family attraction. I feel like those nuances are what built the world. That because you're not supposed to see it. You're supposed to feel it. It's there, and you get the impression, but it's not too obvious.
Yeah. I think it's more obvious to me because I'm a designer and I look at it for those things.
Yeah.
But I think, you're right. I think for someone who isn't as, I guess, kind of exposed to design, it would be more unconscious. You would just be feeling like you're part of the world, but not really understanding why it's happening.
Absolutely. And there's is it the canteen?
Yes.
Or the luxury restaurant they have.
It's like the fine dining part. So this is where like the adults would go to dine.
Yeah.
And the branding's still there, but then it's taken down into kind of silvers and golds, and the plates are gilded gold, and it's like all cut. It's the bit where he's talking about no expense spared.
Yeah.
That's his big thing, wasn't it? And it's kind of, I think that's true for the set as well. But what's really great is this idea that they did the branding with the all the pajamas, and they had like 5 different style of pajamas. And I understand this is all for product merchandising for the film.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't like to believe that's why they made it so good.
It's world building.
Truth be told,
yeah. It's just the same as Disney. It's just how can we put as much product in this as possible. But I love this idea that they build a world and then they destroy it, because suddenly the truck's upside down, and the restaurants like smashed up, and that's especially during Jurassic World where the whole theme park gets like destroyed.
Good branding can't save you.
Yeah, I think that was the message of the film, really.
Can you? Well, we don't want to pitch that. Good branding can save you. Is what our pitch is. But can you imagine being the lead designer and having that brief come in? Like, we're working with Steven Spielberg. He's doing a film about dinosaurs. Think West Midlands Safari Park, but with a slight hint of danger.
I think I would still enjoy it more than West Midlands Safari Park if I was getting chased by dinosaurs.
Well, I don't. It's like with stuff like that. It's like, what do you want to do this weekend? Do you want to go and look at some sad animals? Do you want to go and see a sad rhino?
The foxes is always an interesting one. Is it? It's like the fox enclosure, and you think there's going to be foxes climbing all over the cars. It's like, it's all right. We're probably just going out of season all the time, and it's like,
My favourite park is Chester Zoo, because
too far, Rob.
It is far from here, but it's an amazing zoo.
Yeah,
and they really look after their animals. But the downside of that is that the enclosures are so big, they've got so much space that it's like, will we see it? Will we see anything today?
These are too looked after.
But no, I've had a good success rate when I've been.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. If we're talking about positioning and how every zoo is a conservationist, charity, really, but maybe Chester Zoo just have it so much more at the front of everything they do.
Yeah, I think that Chester Zoo, when I see them, I've already got the mental space that they're a good zoo. Like they look after animals. They're morally like a good thing to have. And when I went there, I was like, I didn't feel like it was about me. I felt like it was about the animals, which I think was a good thing.
About 5 years ago, I had Uswitch come to my door and say, do you want to switch energy providers? I was a bit like, I don't know. And he said, look, just give me a few details. And we plugged it all into his iPad, and he said, look, I can save you £10 a month, and we'll literally do everything. You just give us your email address, we'll do everything, we'll switch and everything. And I was like, do you know what? If you're gonna save me £10, energy is energy, right? And so I signed up for what turned out to be Octopus. And I think it was literally just before we went, it was like, oh, well, another good thing about Octopus is that they use 100% renewable electricity, which they do. And, you know, talking about these things now and having these conversations, it was funny that at the time, one, that I had absolutely no qualms in switching from my energy provider, who was just, literally, it doesn't matter who it was, it could be any other energy provider, because the only time you interact with them is when you get a statement, you know, every month to say, this is how much you owe us.
Yeah.
But there's no personality, there's no kind of, there's a contract, but there's no contract between you and them. Yeah. It's just, they give you energy, you pay them, that's it.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting looking back at it, but also the fact that he had given their differentiation bit after I'd signed up. Is like, oh, by the way, they do this. But now, you know, if that same guy came to my door and said, do you want to switch? If it was a £50 saving, yeah, I probably would still. But yeah. I think this time I'd call Octopus up and go, look, can you match this deal? And there's no reason why I should stay with Octopus, other than the fact that they've built such a lovely experience that I kind of like having the app. I like using the app. I like Octopoints. Right. I like getting a free coffee, and these are all perks, and, you know, mobile providers do it as well.
Yeah.
But I think there seems to be an essence that goes beyond that. If you listen to the owner of the company talk about how he's trying to bring down energy prices for people, and how they're coming up with these EV schemes. So they've recently released this the first EV car package. All of these kind of things really feel proactive and like they're constantly trying to do right by the customer.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with Octopus Energy. Not completely the same, but my dad found them first. He's like, I found this really cool energy company. And first of all, who describes an energy company as cool? So it must, you know, to him, it must have struck some kind of chord.
Yeah.
But he was telling me because they had a refer a friend, family member, and get £10 or £50. I can't remember what it was. It was pretty generous. And that's what got me. I was with Octopus. And just from a design point of view, from a design perspective, so with my design cap on here, he sent me the email, I opened the email, and straight away it was unlike any energy company I've seen before. The like deep digital colours, you know, it wasn't like they'd taken their poster from 10 years ago and changed it to RGB, and it was like this dull corporate creative. It was this bold like pink octopus. It was like this deep blue, and it was unlike anything I've seen. You know, having a mascot as your you know, the forefront of your brand. And of course they lead with the whole renewable energy thing, so morally they're on the right side of things, or at least ethically they're in a good place, and that stuck with me. Like I remember that moment, you know, how I don't remember opening many emails. I remember opening that one very clearly, being like, wow, that's cool, because you think of, I can't think of any EDF, it's just like corporate.
Yeah,
they're all corporate, and you know, I think the reason they keep that is because we want people to trust us. We want people to see us as like reliable and competent. But I don't think being modern, I don't think being bright sacrifices that necessarily. And I think that's what gave Octopus Energy the edge for me. It was simply the creative.
Yeah, and it definitely stands out amongst the marketplace. And it's interesting where you talk about that idea of being brave enough to go out with a brand like that, and understanding that customers are intelligent. Yeah. And they're not just going to go, oh, this company can't, you know, do what they say because they've got bright colours. Yeah. Like people are a little bit more nuanced than that, especially now. I think you can go, look, there's Trustpilot, there's word of mouth. I can basically go online and see what kind of company they are. Yeah. And so people can be a little bit braver with branding, and they don't have to worry about its impact.
Social proof is the best thing to ever happen to the consumer, because the power's shifted. It went from being, you know, when companies got massive, they'd tell you this is how much it is you're going to pay it. Like we went from that, and then over as the internet came in and people became more accountable, They had to have good customer service. They had to respond to you, and before they could get away with anything. And since Trustpilot, Facebook, whatever you want to say, like Instagram, they have to be held accountable. The best thing to happen to the consumer is that.
But then I think the other side of that, and this might be another podcast, is now the amount of fake news and fake video and fake AI voice calls and all of that kind of stuff. It's a double-edged sword, because there's so much ways of being exposed to the truth. But then at the same time, there's an equal amount of ways of being conned and being misled by what's online.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think AI is one for another time. It's too big a can of worms to open.
Lots to talk about. Branding, we could talk for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, it's a very broad subject where everything leads from one thing to the next.
It is. But I think in an hour we've pretty much covered it. So
yeah,
no need to do any more videos on branding. I think we've done it all.
Cool. It's been a pleasure. Ring that bell.
Thanks, Rob.
Ooh.